Shopping for a new vehicle? There's a lot to keep in mind. Given the potential long-term investment, more car buyers are considering the environmental impact. In 2021, almost 1.5 million electric vehicles were registered to drive on the nation's highways.
They're perfectly good vehicles, have a huge utility function for people who are wealthy enough to have two cars. The second car that you can charge conveniently overnight in your garage. What's not to like?
Still, Mark Mills, a Manhattan Institute physicist, says many of these environmentally conscious drivers don't understand the amount of energy it takes to make an electric vehicle.
So the supply chain to manufacture batteries is utterly dominated by China. They have a market share in energy minerals to make batteries, roughly double OPEC's market share in oil, or if you like, put differently, 3 to 4 times our market share, United States, in oil and gas. You know, like any vehicle, you have to mine materials to make the car. You have to mine a lot more metals to make an electric vehicle than you do a conventional vehicle, by about 1,000% on average.
Mark says a single electric car battery weighs about 1,000 pounds, requiring miners to dig up about 500,000 pounds of earth just to make one battery, using giant mining machines that burn diesel oil.
All those emissions from all that energy used to dig all those materials up cause carbon dioxide to be emitted somewhere else. So when the electric vehicle is delivered to your driveway, it's already arriving with massive emissions of carbon dioxide that you eventually sort of pay off, if you like. It's kind of like an inverse mortgage by driving that instead of an internal combustion engine.
Skip Bowman from Texas has been driving electric cars since Toyota released the Prius.
Never go back to a regular car. It's just the fun of driving the car. I've had Porsches in the past. I had Alfa Romeo. I had Mazda RX-7s. I love the thrill of having that acceleration, and there's nothing that can beat an EV.
For people like Skip, this is a perfect fit, although he points out some challenges people need to know before buying electric.
If you live in an apartment or condo or someplace that does not have a charger for you to charge overnight, then that's an issue with electric cars.
And knowing where to charge your car could become a problem given the nation's overall lack of charging stations. Of the 56,000 in North America, the majority are only found in major metropolitan areas.
That's called range anxiety, and there is range anxiety, especially if you go into the smaller areas of the state, like not the big cities.
And charging an EV has become a well-documented nightmare for drivers seeking adventure or just some R&R. Some report spending more time charging than they did sleeping.
Even the so-called superchargers, they take half an hour to 40 minutes to refill your battery, so to speak. That's almost 10 times longer than it takes to fill a conventional gasoline tank. So what that means, in very simple terms, is if you want it to have the equal function, equal utility, for convenience when you're driving on the road, you need a roughly 5 to 10 times more filling stations for the electric vehicles than you have for the gasoline vehicles.
The federal infrastructure law seeks to change this, with a goal of 500,000 new stations and plans for one every 50 miles on major highways. That will take time and money, however, to the tune of $5 billion over the next 5 years.
The United States' grid is not that strong. We're trying to maneuver off of coal and natural gas and just go with renewables, which has not proven to be completely dependable.
Another concern along these lines will be felt with falling temperatures.
The big downside of having an electric car is wintertime. The range is cut way back because the battery pack is now having to run a heater, and that heater really cuts down on your range.
If you're still interested in buying one, Kelley Blue Book estimates the typical EV costs roughly $56,000. That means only 36% of the U.S. population can likely afford one.
From the affordability standpoint, EVs are typically more expensive, and we definitely don't want to put low-income buyers out of the market.
The Biden administration hopes to sweeten the pot, promising a $7,500 tax credit if you buy a new electric vehicle.
The cost of the cars are expensive. There's no denying it. They are coming down.
One other noticeable came to light recently in Florida following Hurricane Ian. Some EV owners discovered salt water doesn't mix well with lithium-ion batteries, as cars caught fire due to saltwater damage. Junkyards filled with saltwater-damaged cars shows gas-powered cars squeezed together and electric cars spaced far apart in case one catches fire. Firefighters say it takes about 1,000 gallons to put out a normal car fire, and 10 times that for an electric vehicle.
The safety implications are the fact that these batteries get hot. They get hot when they're stored. not just when they're charging, just when they're sitting there stored, they combust. And you remember Chevy had the Volt. They had to pull them off the road. Why? Because too many of them were spontaneously catching fire.
Florida's chief fire marshal is calling for action, even writing a letter to Elon Musk. So far, Musk has not responded. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration did answer, saying lithium-ion battery fires have been observed rapidly igniting and igniting several weeks after battery damage occurred.
Now, again, there's a lot of promise in these technologies for the long run, but we are reaching a point where the policies haven't always kept up with the technologies. I mean, so many of our regulations to keep cars safe are based on how cars always used to be. We need to make sure that they're based on how cars are going to be.
The push towards electric vehicles is becoming a political red line. Some states even banning the sale of gas-powered vehicles. California making it an executive order. Still, only 1% of vehicles on the roadways today are EVs. But at the government's level, they're hopeful to push this technology sooner than you think, which is why it's so important to take all sides into consideration and purchase what's best for you. Brody Carter, CBN News.